I never thought I'd be sat here talking to you about orgasms as part of my job, but here we are. I'm not actually here though to provide a comedy element to this, although it sounds a bit funny. There's some really solid science that I want to share with you, and some things that I don't think are really very well known, but could help you. And what I'm going to say is just to start off by saying orgasms as a whole for everyone can have some really helpful health benefits, some very general health benefits. But when we're talking about heading into our peri and postmenopausal years, those benefits become really quite potentially important for us, not just in the moment of feeling good in that moment of orgasm, but also for the rest of our lives, for the rest of the things that are going on in our lives, which, as I'm sure you can relate to, our perimenopausal years can be a time of lots of different stresses and things coming together to create a rather strained experience of life at times. So when we learn how we can manage that a little bit better, and when we learn how the hormonal and the chemical changes are affecting how we can cope with life as a whole, we can understand where this whole where the potential power of orgasm can come into it for us. So let's just briefly say that alongside the changes with our main menopause hormones, I'm thinking estrogen, progesterone, and cortisol as well, and to a certain amount testosterone, we've got changes with our neurotransmitters. So neurotransmitters are brain chemicals. They're kind of like the brother and sister of our hormones. So they all live in that same sort of family as being messengers and signalling around the body as to what needs to happen at various times throughout every day, throughout our lives. And they're all made by your body, within your body, the same as hormones. So neurotransmitters and chemicals are a similar family, doing a similar job, but also they all have the ability to affect how you feel. So when we have a change in hormones, we also have a change in how neurotransmitters work. They're still doing the same job, but sometimes their potency can change. So this is really drawing to a point that what happens in menopause, what happens to our hormones, is not just happening in a vacuum. What I'm saying is that hormones, chemical messengers, estrogen, progesterone, and all the rest of them, they're not just happening in a single place. It's not all about the ovaries. We've got those hormones being produced in different areas of the body, not just the ovaries, but also those hormones travel around, move around, and interact with other chemicals in the body. But here's the thing, less estrogen means that we're producing less some of these neurotransmitters and chemicals. We're producing less of those. So I'm thinking of particularly serotonin, oxytocin, some of these, you might have heard of these as being to do with pleasure and relaxation and feel-good hormones. So with having less estrogen, we are producing less of those chemicals in the body, less of those feel-good hormones. So yeah, that's not great, is it? However, We don't lose the ability to make these things. It's not like they're on the decline in a way that in the same way as estrogen or progesterone. It's not like that. It's just their relationship changes. Like brother and sister relationship has changed, and to get the same response, to create and curate these feel good hormones, serotonin particularly, oxytocin, connection, love hormone. They feel good, they feel relaxing, they help with anxiety, they help with tolerance, they help with pain, they help with irritability, rage, anger. They're pretty important. We don't lose the ability to make them, but we can't rely on that relationship between estrogen and those feel good chemicals to produce them, to curate them, to encourage them to be made in the body. We've got to change our direction slightly, so we're not relying so much on estrogen to do it for us. We have to be a bit more proactive about how we do that. Orgasm is a really good way to do this. There are other ways. It's not all, you're not going to lose the ability to make serotonin if you don't orgasm, for example. It's not like that. No pressure at all from me. So other ways could be having ways to relax, having other ways to relax and feel good in your body, being around other women, being in relationships where you laugh, where you genuinely laugh, where you connect with people, connect with nature, being outside. There's a lot of different ways we can do this. But when we're talking about orgasm, there's specific, obviously, scenarios, situations that, for want of a better word, build up to the fact that we are creating this orgasm within the body. You're creating it for yourself. So there's I've just listed out five benefits to, particularly thinking of women my age. I'm in my 40s, and I'm thinking of somebody like me or yourself wanting to encourage ways to relax in myself, ways to encourage feel good hormones and chemicals, ways to feel good in my body. And when we're talking about orgasm, this is it. So oxytocin released as part of orgasm is endorphins. Oxytocin and endorphins, they are actually natural painkillers, mood enhancers, mood stabilizers. They're kind of a bit of a boost. And I know it, when I talk about it as being part of orgasm, it can feel like, well, she's only talking about it as being that 5 or 10 seconds that it lasts. But no, it's much more prolonged. Our effect, the chemical effect, remember, it's not just a nice feeling. These chemicals interact with the whole body, and they prolong their effect way after the orgasm's finished. Okay, so orgasms also can not necessarily always, but can help with sleep, inducing sleep. Some people say there's some anecdotal evidence for this, but some people say it's because of the progressive muscle tightening and relaxing, which could be done as part of a meditation, not necessarily orgasm. It could be done as a progressive muscle tightening and releasing, or very pleasurable as part of orgasm. And then we've got increased blood flow that's occurring as part of the build-up to that chemical event in your brain. We've got increased blood flow not only to the brain but to the pelvic region. Of course, the pelvic area is getting a better blood flow, and that has been reported to also help and be beneficial for the pelvic floor as a whole, which is great. And then flipping that on its side, of course, we could also say, and I don't have published research to back this up, but anecdotally from some pelvic health physios saying that a good pelvic floor will also give us really good orgasm will help to make it happen and also prolong the duration of it. And then just talking about, just reminding you that you don't have to be in a relationship to make this happen for yourself. You don't have to actually have sex for this to happen. It doesn't have to be penetrative sex, if I can say it. So we've got different ways that we can stimulate ourselves or with another person, and I've spoken to lots of women as well, of course, that say their libido's gone. They don't really feel the need for it, or there's a big crash. And sometimes it's a relief for them, and sometimes it feels like a crisis point, that this part of their identity has shifted so much and it does not feel good to them. There's a change. And it's a shift, it's a transition. What I want you to know is that it rarely stays the same. The things that turn us on, the things that feel good to us in a physical and an emotional sense, changes through our lives. Orgasm is exactly the same. Our sexual pleasure is exactly the same. It doesn't stay the same throughout our whole lives. It changes as part of menopause. Remember me saying all these brain chemicals change. It's going to have an effect. Some women more than others. It's not always the same. So we don't have to rely on other people for this. And also, it can be a very connecting experience for yourself, with yourself, or with a partner. And at a time in life, I know when we can feel like we're kind of doubting ourselves sometimes with our body confidence, with enjoying being in a body that is changing from the inside out. And orgasm as a way of connecting with ourselves, as a way of enjoying being in our body, in this body, can be a very powerful experience when it's a regular thing, or as it's part of a self-care strategy of self-acceptance and building confidence in a different way than it being all about how we look or how we present ourselves to other people. It's just adding in these little things. I'm not trying to analyze it to death and take away the magic of it, but I'm just trying to get you to realize and have a think about these small things that we add into our lives are actually pretty big things and can have quite an impact and influence on our experience of menopause, but really it's life, on our experience of ourselves in life. And the last benefit that I want to say is that orgasm, that particularly the nervous system changes that are encouraged post-orgasm, when we're in that very relaxed state, perhaps a bit sleepy, feeling very connected, very chilled. That is a positive, thriving state as part of, as far as your nervous system is concerned. And that thriving state for your nervous system is beneficial for overall health, everything to do with health. So yeah, that's got to be a good thing. Okay, so there you have it. I hope that was interesting. I hope that's piqued some interest, perhaps, in thinking about it in a slightly different way. The how-to, of course, I'm not going to go into that. That bit is up to you, and definitely up to you. I am going to say, though, that as I mentioned before, the things that turn you on, the things that stimulate you physically in a sexual sense, does change through our lives. It takes patience, and it takes a bit of curiosity to be able to go there. So there are some books and resources and some fantastic web articles on all of this that I've just mentioned, particularly that last bit. So if you want access to those, then let me know and I'll make them available to you. Okay.